Following along and going back now to the association and taking a look at the top 5 records in the league. We are midway through the NBA season and the Pistons have the best record so far at 40-13. Next up, the Thunder, those defending champs, followed by the Spurs, Celtics, and the Nuggets. It's a perfect time now to bring in our John Gonzalez. You will be dishing out the grades, a report card, if you will, for these top 5 teams. So you've got the defending champs and the Thunder. Take them, for example, among these teams with the best records. So who out of these top 5 are acing the test, John, are considered mid, and who's considered maybe failing?
Yeah, all 5 of these teams are just absolutely having fantastic seasons. Oklahoma City's fallen off a little bit. They've had some injury issues, but they still have the most wins. They don't have the best winning percentage. The Pistons actually pass them in winning percentage. But Oklahoma City, hey, they're still the champs, right? They have the most wins in the NBA. They're top 5 in offense and defense. SGA was on a pace to win back-to-back MVPs. We'll see whether or not he clears that 65-game threshold, Tiffany. But he's having a really good season. And, you know, they haven't had Jalen Williams around for the entire season. Chet and Hartenstein have been in and out. Considering their injury issues, they're still the team to beat in the Western Conference. And look, they started out 24-1, and we were all talking about whether or not they were going to break the Warriors record. They've cooled off a little bit from that pace, but still, I would say that they're acing the test so far, as are the Spurs, who are second in the Western Conference, and right behind them, they've won 6 in a row. They're top 10 in offense and defense. And also, we should mention, Tiffany, that the Spurs are 4-1 against Oklahoma City this season, so they're way ahead of schedule. I didn't have them anywhere near the top of the Western Conference coming into the season. I thought maybe a play-in would be a nice situation for the Spurs. Now, all of a sudden, we're talking about the Spurs potentially being Western Conference contenders and beyond that, finals contenders. And then the other team in the Western Conference that I really like and I think is acing it so far are the Denver Nuggets. We talked about injuries with Oklahoma City. They've had a ton of injuries this season. 4 of their 5 starters have missed significant time, including Nikola Jokic. He just came back. They just got Cam Johnson and Christian Brown back. But Aaron Gordon is still out. Peyton Watson, who had stepped forward in their absence, he was having a career year. He's out with a hamstring injury. And so who was keeping it all together? It was Jamal Murray, who's having a career year, and he's finally going to be an all-star. And then we've got 2 other teams in the Eastern Conference that are acing it as well. Those Detroit Pistons, who are first in the East. They have the highest winning percentage in the NBA. They just passed Oklahoma City. They've won 12 of their last 15 going into the All-Star break. I want some people, Tiffany, to put some respect on the Detroit Pistons name. I think we forget about how good they've been. Cade Cunningham is going to make All-NBA again. I have them top 3 in the MVP vote. And then you see the Celtics there. They're second in the East. How did this happen? This was supposed to be a gap year. Jason Tatum blows out his Achilles in the playoffs. They get rid of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford and Luke Cornett. And this was supposed to be a year that they fell off. Well, all of a sudden, here comes Jaylen Brown. He's having a career year. Derek White, he's going to make all defense. He's shouldering more of the offensive load. They trade for Nikola Vucevic at the deadline. Joe Mazzulla is deep into his coaching bag, regularly playing 11 guys. So those are the 5 teams that I have acing the test so far, all of them having excellent seasons.
Well, it sounds like you just put some respect on the Pistons name for us, John. I'd say you did that.
Somebody should.
All right, let's get to the mid teams. The Cavaliers, Knicks, Rockets, Timberwolves, and the Suns. Break those guys down.
Yeah, so the Cavs started off a little slowly, right? But now all of a sudden they're the hottest team in the NBA. They've won 12 of the last 14. They're only a game behind the Knicks for third. And you see the Knicks there as well. The Knicks had a really rough, mid-January, early January run to their season where after the NBA Cup, they just couldn't get going. And then all of a sudden, they figured it out. That defense that had been super problematic earlier in the season, Tiff, has been excellent since mid-January through mid-February. Now all of a sudden they've won 10 of their last 12. They just beat and apologies to my friends and family in Philadelphia who might be listening to this. They just beat the Sixers going into the break by 49 points, Tiff. It was ridiculous. So the Knicks are cruising right now after a slow start. Same with the Rockets. The Rockets had to overcome Fred VanVleet, who they lost to an ACL injury. They had to turn Amon Thompson into a point guard. They lost Steven Adams for the season, but they're still plugging along, right? They're 6th in offense. They're 5th in defense. They dominate on the offensive boards. They dominate second chance points. Kevin Durant has been a seamless fit. Alperen Sengun just named to the All-Star team. I love this team, and I think, if fully healthy, they could be a real problem in the Western Conference playoffs, as I would expect the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're solidly the 5th place team in the Western Conference. They have gone to back-to-back Western Conference finals and is having another monster season. Julius Randle, who I was really down on when they acquired him for Karl-Anthony Towns, he's made me a believer. He's looked really good. Jaden McDaniels, he's another guy that just fits seamlessly with that team that I don't think a lot of people realize how good he is. He's a defensive terror, and he's really stepped up his game offensively. And then they needed somebody to come off their bench and add some offensive oomph alongside Naz Reid, and so they go and trade for Ayo Dosunmu, who I love, and I think that he's going to give them a real boost because that bench was pretty thin. And then I got one more for you for the mids, the Suns, Tiffany. The Suns were a team that I thought were going to be a lottery team. I thought they were going to be terrible this year. They only won 36 games last year, and then they traded Kevin Durant. How do you get better? Especially when Devin Booker has missed time this year. Jalen Green has missed almost the entire season, and Grayson Allen has missed time. And they just keep plugging along under first-year head coach Jordan Ott, who should get some Coach of the Year love. Dylan Brooks has been excellent for them. He loves to aggravate the opposition. Colin Gillespie has stepped up. The Suns, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. So those are your mid-teams so far.
All right. Mids on to who is failing. John, you got the Bucks, the Bulls, the Pelicans, the Kings, and Wizards all at the bottom of the pack.
Yeah, as George Costanza's dad said at Festivus, I got a lot of problems with these teams. So the Bucks are a game and a half out of the play-in, right? And you would think after they start the season saying, we're not going to trade Giannis. Then right before the deadline, they say, we are going to trade Giannis. And then they end up not trading Giannis. So then you figure you're going to shut him down, right? You're going to lose. You're going to tank. You've got your pick. Except for they've somehow won 5 of their last 6 games. I have no idea what this team is doing. They've signed Cam Thomas to jack up shots. Maybe they keep Giannis this summer. I don't know. But they're in this like mediocre middle, which is the last place you want to be. And they really need to figure out what they're doing in Milwaukee. With the Bulls, at least they've picked a lane. The Bulls have. They traded Nikola Vucevic, but they have now turned this roster into basically a way station, a discard pile, if you will, for unwanted guards. Anthony Simons, Trey Jones, Jaden Ivey, Colin Sexton, all these guys that nobody wanted, they play in Chicago now. And you could add a couple of bigs to that list as well with Gershon Yabusele, who I like, but just fell out of favor in New York, and Nick Richards. And oh, by the way, you also still have Josh Giddey and Mattis Buzelis. This roster makes no sense, but at least they figured out how to tank. The New Orleans Pelicans, on the other hand, they're just bad. They traded their pick to Atlanta, to the Atlanta Hawks, in that move that got them Derek Queen. Derek Queen is good. That's fantastic. But now you don't have a pick in a year when you're really bad. And oh, by the way, at the deadline, you decided you didn't want to trade Zion. You decided you didn't want to trade Herb Jones. And you decided that you were going to keep Trey Murphy, who you could have gotten a huge haul for. Joe Dumars, somebody needs to sit this man down and have him explain what exactly his vision is in New Orleans, because it defies explanation for me. And then 2 more for you. You got the Kings and the Wizards. Look, I understand what the Wizards are doing with trying to get Anthony Davis and Trae Young. That's fine. And then you've got the Kings here, as you see on the list. They're just hard tanking, Tiffany. The Kings are hard tanking. They have lost 14 in a row. It is the most that they've lost since the 1970s, since they weren't even the Kings back then, Tiffany. They were the Cincinnati Royals. So they are... The commissioner is going to have a lot to say this weekend at All-Star Weekend about tanking, and he's going to be looking at teams like the Kings and the Wizards.
Maybe he'll take your phrase, hard tanking. It's not just tanking, it's like tanking to the max. Maybe we'll go with that.
Yes.
John, thanks so much.
And by the way,
oh, yes.
You aced the segment. If anybody else, so you get an ace too.
Man, some people wouldn't think that back here, but I'll take your word for it. Thank you. All right, we'll look at the odds, the shortest odds that is, to win the NBA Finals. And right now it's the Pistons, but what, the Thunder? The front runners? Or the defending champs, excuse me.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair. I feel like they just got Jared McCain. Like, they just, like, keep getting all of this talent. But, you know, whatever. They know how to draft.